Hi, my name's Angela Casey and welcome to Edinburgh Outdoors, the podcast that explores Edinburgh's green spaces and the people in them. And I've got a bit of a treat for you today because I'm meeting gardener Emily Hairstans, and as well as being a very talented gardener, which we'll talk about, she also was the recent winner of Scotland's Home of the Year. So you're going to get a sneak peek, albeit audio, into the house and the garden that won. Welcome to Edinburgh Outdoors, Emily.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's very nice to see you here, and I'm really enjoying your garden already and looking at the chickens running around. So it's fantastic. We're going to talk about Scotland's Home of the Year, but we're also going to talk about you as a gardener and about your garden and what you do and how you came to be doing it.
Yeah, that's great.
Tell me, out of interest, because I know when you were on the TV and you were described as a horticulturalist, what's the difference between a horticulturalist and a gardener?
So every year, SRUC hosts a careers fair at the Botanics, and we had a speaker there who spoke for an incredibly long time. And a really strong point that he stressed was that we aren't gardeners, we are horticulturists, because we have been trained into the field, and there are hundreds of thousands of gardeners all over the UK who are people who go out into their gardens and they potter, but when you're trained and doing it professionally, you work in the horticultural field. And that was a really strong point that he stressed. We weren't massively on board with a lot of what he said, but the reason I chose to identify myself in such a manner is because I didn't want it to seem as though I was a hobby gardener who spent my time doodling about my house and my garden.
Yeah.
You know, I graft with it. Jenny said to me after we won, she said, I work with you in the muck all the time. She said, you know, we get cold and wet and muddy and dirty, and you've won Home of the Year.
Yeah. And Jenny's your colleague, is that right?
Jenny is my colleague, yes. So it was really nice. It was lovely of her to say, because she was so kind of blown away by it. But that was why I wanted to call myself a horticulturalist and not a gardener.
I think you're right. I mean, I would say, I suppose I would be a gardener because I grow vegetables, but I have no training other than learning as I've gone. So there's a massive difference. And I can see with your planting here and from pictures on your Instagram, which is fantastic if people want to see some examples of lovely gardens, and I can see from that you've got the eye for it and the understanding of what to put where.
Well, I'm not sure my garden is a wonderful example of it, because my garden, especially my front garden, but there's a lot of chaos in my garden, and realistically, when you work as a professional gardener, your time in your own garden is limited, and it's quite piecemeal. I mean, you know, if I go to someone's garden and I do a design, I order things up and I plan things, and there's multiples of different plants, whereas in my own garden it's a little bit here and there.
But you've got uniformity of colour and you've got heights, and Banjo loved your front garden. He kept talking about your front garden, didn't he?
I know, that was it was funny, because the front garden, we did that a few years ago, and it's never, you know, if you want to make a cohesive space, it just needs a concentrated effort, and it just has never had that.
And this is your bog garden. Tell me about that.
So we put the bog garden in last year. We used to actually have a fruit cage here. It's where we had a number of our raspberries. And you'll actually maybe spied it on the program, and it was just a bit of a disaster looking thing. And I was really keen to move the raspberries around and just, you know, it blocked the view. We like to sit on the deck at the back of the house, and it blocked the view from the rest of the garden, and I didn't like that. We actually dug, I say we, my husband did most of the digging, I must admit. But, you know, he dug out quite a significant amount of the soil, and then I bought a pond liner, and we lined it and filled it back in. And it just means that there are certain plants that I can grow. I think most of it I would have been able to have in the garden anyway, but they're just a lot happier in this slightly more moist environment. So we've got holes in around the sides, but not in the very bottom of the pond liner.
So you have to water it.
Actually, the shed next to it, it's connected to the downpipe off the shed.
That's really clever.
So that helps with the moisture levels. Yeah, Dottie's having feelings, but I'm not sure what she's having feelings about.
Is that Dottie?
That's Dottie, yeah. She's our lead hen. She's very cheeky.
Oh, do you get a lead hen then? Is that what
Oh,
it is?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the term pecking order is very accurate. So with our last batch of hens, she was actually the lowest in the pecking order. But when they all passed, she proceeded up the ranks.
She's rather fantastic. She does look a bit like a sort of Miss Marple figure, doesn't she?
She's funny. She absolutely hates people.
Do you know what I think? I don't know why you won. I'm sure you'll tell me why you won. But one of the things I think that's really special about this garden in your house is that it is in the middle. Well, it's not in the middle of the city. It's on the edge of the city, but it's on a busy road. It's in a fairly built-up area, and yet you've got a chicken running in and out of the house, and you've got a feeling like you're not in the middle of the city, don't you?
Yeah. No, I totally see what you mean. I mean, we've got loads of fruit trees. Before I took out many of the raspberries, we had enough raspberries to keep us going for a year, just about. We've got our veg raised beds along the side, and our polytunnel, and you don't quite feel like you're 25 minutes from the city centre.
No, you don't. It's really nice. It's like a little oasis. And I think the chickens help that, don't they?
Yes.
So tell me how the garden has developed, because obviously the house developed over time, which we'll talk about.
Yes.
But you've also developed the garden over time, and as you say, a polytunnel, and there are these lovely beds that we're looking at, and the bog garden, and still some raspberries. How did you develop the garden? What was your concept?
You know, very much like the house, there was no initial concept. When we bought the house, the garden had a very tidy, extensive lawn, and along the back fence it had a huge row of Lelandii and a slightly less huge row of Lelandii in the strip here between the house and the garden. And rhododendrons right at the bottom of the stairs that lead from the house into the garden. And, that was nice and easy to start with. You know, we had a house that was a disaster and we needed to absolutely rip the guts out of it. And all we had to do with the garden was mow the lawn. And that was, that kept things easy. So the polytunnel was a pretty early addition.
Can we look in the polytunnel?
Yes, absolutely.
I think it's so fantastic having a polytunnel in the middle of a city. You've got a mud kitchen.
We certainly do. Yeah.
This is all lovely. These colours are really nice. So tell me how you got into gardening. Were you a gardener when you moved here? And obviously you're from the States. What's your path been?
So growing up, we had a really large garden. I mean, you know how it is in the States. People have massive gardens. So we had a really, really large garden, and my mum always liked to garden, but I always liked to grow veg. And so she gave me my own little plot in our back garden, and I grew tomatoes and radishes. I liked plants that had a functional value to them.
Yes. So where was that in the States?
So I'm from Berkeley, California, so just outside of San Francisco. Mm-hmm. So our growing season was a little different.
Yes.
We could grow tomatoes outside. I've always liked nature, as you do. And my father-in-law is a very prolific gardener, especially a veg gardener.
When did you move to the UK?
2006. So it's been 20 years.
Right. And from California to Scotland, that's a very, very different climate.
It's a very, very different climate. It is. It's very, very different in many ways.
Yes.
Yeah, the pace of life here is much nicer.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, if you think about it, there's a lot of space and a lot of people. And because there are so many people to get to the outdoors, you need to get a car. But for us, where we are, we can walk, and within 10 minutes, we're in a field with Highland cows. And if you do want to get in the car, you can be in the hills in 20 minutes.
Right. And have you done qualifications?
I did 3 years at SRUC for a horticulture course. And that was great, but really the learning comes from working with seasoned gardeners. And so when I was done with that, I've just made it a mission to find more and more seasoned gardeners to work with every year so that I can pick up more learning and hints and tips.
So in terms of work, do you work for private gardens?
For the most part, I work in private gardens, although I also do the garden at the Collective Gallery on the top of Colton Hill as well. So it's been since maybe 2022 or 23 that I've been doing that.
I always think Colton Hill is somewhere that's also got its own climate because it's so exposed.
Yes. I mean, it's interesting because I get so many tourists from France and Italy who say, "Oh, we can't grow these things in our climate," and it's hard to get the idea across that actually the top of Colton Hill is much more like their climate than it is like our climate, because it's windy, it's very dry, and it can be very hot up there.
Yeah, we all go and buy the tubs of chicken poo, don't we, and put it on.
Yeah,
but you've got it ready to use.
But I've got it ready made, and I've got the compost bin in there, and when that gets full and ready, it just gets dumped out in there.
That's the other thing that they liked on the programme, wasn't it? That you did have that sense that you weren't just a perfect garden, perfect house, because some of the ones you were up against were so perfect.
It's funny to be so delighted about this, but the words of anarchy and chaos, I mean, I just feel like that is very descriptive.
Obviously, you're incredibly busy because you've got young kids, you've got a garden, you've got 3 chickens, and you've spent years over your house. What made you decide that you were going to go for the programme? I'd been saying
that I wanted to go for the programme for years because I love our house and we've put so much work into it.
Yeah.
There's been so much work and so much love, so much graft in the house and the garden. And of course I love the show. And it was always the sort of end goal was to apply when we were done. And, that the house was great before we did the most recent extension. It was a house that had babies and toddlers and just, it was struggling. And then when we did the extension, it was so lovely.
Yeah.
And, and I finally had the time and the headspace to upgrade everything. Yeah. So everything got painted very slowly. Very, very slow. I mean, it was like literally a wall at a time because that was, okay, I've got, 2 hours. I'll do some very slow painting.
Well, you're busy. You called it Homegrown Hoose.
Yes.
Which I think it is because... And some people were a bit negative that you had these 3 extensions on the back. But
yeah, I get it. It's not normal. It's a bit weird. We've definitely called it Frankenhouse before. But the middle and the far right extension, the sunroom, and then the cantilever in the dining room, those were first. And they were really the showcase of what Robert does for a living. I mean, we both very much exemplify our professions. And our home environment is our professions come together, basically.
I mean, yes, it does look funny, but when you're in it, it's all cohesive, isn't it?
It totally is. I mean, it's a shame. I completely understand that you've got 10 minutes in an episode to show a home, and they have to choose 3 rooms, and I get it. But when it's your home, you sit there and you watch it and you go, oh, but because they didn't show this, that, and the other thing, you don't actually see the full picture of it.
Yeah.
Because it feels completely different inside than how it looked on the telly.
Yes. No, I could see that. You felt like the sunroomy bit was separate, but in fact it all just flows through. I loved it. She said she was a lizard. That was quite funny.
I know. Well, that room's the perfect houseplant room.
I quite like it because I think you look at houses now and everybody's adding bits to their houses because that's what we want. You've got bits of the house that function, and in fact seeing it now with the planting in front of it in particular, the planting really softens up bits of it, which I don't think necessarily also came across on the telly.
No, and obviously the old raspberry cage didn't help either because as much work as we have done in the garden for the last 15 years, we haven't really been able to focus on it.
So when they come and do the first filming where they walk in the driveway and look delighted, are you around when they do that bit, or are you sent away completely?
We're sent away completely. So that morning, the production team came around to get set up and to interview us, but you can't meet the judges because they don't want what they're saying about your home to be influenced by having met you.
Is a chicken going into the house?
Oh, of course. Goldie generally doesn't go in the house, so it's always Dottie.
So you go away until you watch the programme. You don't know what they...
You have no idea. You have absolutely no idea what they say, and that was my line. Every time people would ask me, my line was, you have no idea what they say until you see it on the telly, because that was true, even though I knew the whole time exactly what had happened.
Yes. So how long from when they came and filmed and when the final went out? How long was that?
Let me think. We're June now. I think we filmed the final, was it towards the end of July?
So almost a year.
It's been almost a year. It was, yeah. In fact, the raspberries were just almost ready. And we had like one raspberry, which was ready the day that they filmed. And when we got back home, it wasn't there anymore.
So someone had pinched your raspberry.
And we were like, oh, they've eaten our only ripe raspberry.
So did the kids know that you had won?
They did. Yes,
Wow.
they did.
And they kept it a secret?
They kept it a secret, yeah. We had to do the most ridiculous setup because it was during the school holidays that they filmed the final.
Ooh.
And we had to be through in Glasgow for something like 10 o'clock in the morning because you're given an arrival time. So they stagger everyone's arrival so they can film you. They put you up in a hotel for the evening.
Long?
Yeah, I mean, we were filming all day. You could choose to stay the night before if you were coming from further away, or the night of, and we were glad that we chose to stay the night of because there was merriment that happened afterwards.
Yeah, and actually you were exhausted.
It was, I mean, it's really long. It's really intense.
Because we just see a flash.
Yeah.
You know, we just see a flash of you walking around your garden. Like you say, it's only 10 minutes.
There were 6 households and everyone had to be filmed arriving and have that little chat, and then we did filming for social media and we did photo shoots, and the judges actually film announcing the winner in an empty room. And I assume it's if they mess up, if they need a retake, then they have that, and then so when they tell the homeowners, it's genuine surprise.
Well, we're going to go and have a look inside in a minute. Even though we're Edinburgh outdoors, we're allowed inside. And did the kids mind having their bedrooms on the TV?
No, they were really excited at the prospect. I think the only thing that was a bit of a shame was that Ada's room was featured and not Jackson's.
Right.
But no, they were absolutely happy. You tell the production team if any rooms are off limits.
Right.
So everybody, shoves all their rubbish into one space and then says that space is off limits.
Yes, because a lot of these houses you see, they've just obviously moved all the clutter away.
Exactly.
Because I don't believe people live like that.
No, I hope not. Some of the other participants were saying that they had all their friends and family over to help them clean the windows and various things, and I thought, oh, I didn't clean the windows.
Well, you've got they're big
a lot
windows,
of glass,
but
yeah.
I don't think you could tell.
I don't think you could tell either.
And they did actually focus on the garden quite a bit, because they showed you outside at the front, and then they showed you out here with the chickens. And, the chickens have gone.
Yeah, they're just
over there.
Yeah.
And how did you feel about the judges' comments? The things they said.
I thought they were great. I thought they were great. I thought, you could feel that there was a real genuine appreciation about what they said. It was interesting reading the newspaper articles afterwards, actually, because apparently Anna and Banjo both said that hands down their favorite part of the house was the kitchen.
Yeah.
And you hardly saw the kitchen at all.
No. Apart from Danny, who they filmed walking around your kitchen with a look of complete wonderment on his face. He was completely blown away by the house, you could tell.
Yeah, it was cool. I think they got it. We'd been here for a long time. It wasn't like we had just purchased the house and had thrown a whole bunch of money at it. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, we bought the house as a young couple in our 20s, and we started to rip the guts out of it immediately. And it's been an absolute graft the whole time. It really has been a home.
And I think that's what stood out. Before we go and have a look inside, though, some people on social media in particular, and, you know, at the bottom of the BBC pieces and things, people say cruel things, don't they?
Yeah.
How was that?
That was a real shock. And I guess I shouldn't have been shocked. I certainly learned between our initial episode and the final to not look at the social media comments. Yeah. It really surprised me that people would take to the internet to say mean things about someone's home, because it's not your home and I'm not trying to push my ideals onto you, it's just my home. But I guess that's just what people like to do. It's a weird one that people feel entitled to behave like that.
Yeah,
really.
It's sad. Do you get any wildlife in this garden?
If you can picture how the garden used to be, you can imagine that it's much more wildlife friendly now. But interestingly enough, in the beginning, we've had ducklings. I don't know where they came from.
I see. They weren't ones that you'd got.
No, like literal one day we looked out in the garden and there were 3 little ducklings wandering around the garden. We ended up having to phone the SPCA because we had absolutely no idea where they came from. We've had a bunny. We have had fox cubs. In fact, we were on Animal 999 because we had fox cubs born in the polytunnel. I've seen hedgehogs next door. I want hedgehogs because I have enough of a slug and snail problem.
So are we allowed to go inside and have
Yes, absolutely. This is probably a tidier version of what it normally looks like.
Yeah, it's lovely. I think it's very homely, and I love the wood.
It's funny because, you know, the number of times we were asked, what colour will you paint it, or when will you be putting the plasterboard on, or, you know, various. Well, we're not doing that.
So where was the kitchen before you put this extension on?
Originally, the kitchen was on the other side of the house.
Did you have a master plan for it?
So when we bought the house,
you can do your bread while you're talking.
Let me do my bread quickly.
Oh, that smells really good.
As the newspapers have really enjoyed repeating, hated the house when we first bought it. It was just this sort of dark, horrible dungeon. Really, I mean, it wasn't very nice.
No.
And so we got an architect, David Blakey, to come and have a chat. And it was David's idea to turn the whole house around, to put the bedrooms in the front and make the living space in the back. That was a game changer for us. And then it wasn't until the second phase of work that we stuck in the extensions. The first 2 extensions in terms of the cantilever off the dining room and then the sunroom there. Phase 3 was to convert the attic space into another bedroom. And then phase 4 was this where we're standing right now, the new kitchen and office.
I love the way that we're here now, we can hear the birds singing.
Yeah.
But also that the wood around us and all the plants, you've got so many plants. It does bring out like the old cliche of bringing the outdoors in.
It's a very organic space.
So where have you put your award?
Oh, I'll show you. So the award is over here.
You must have really enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, it was cool.
Being part of it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't actually... Well, it was a bit of work at the end, wasn't it? Because you had to do newspaper interviews and...
Yeah, the newspaper interviews, for the most part, they didn't last too long.
No.
Really, it's just the constant people coming around wanting to take photographs and going, oh gosh, I've got to clean up everything. Yeah.
No. I always think of this because it was in the opening credits, wasn't it? Anna saying that she was like a lizard.
Yeah.
She just enjoyed the sun coming in.
Yeah. It is. It's a great spot. It's where the kids sit in the morning.
So you're now hanging out the washing while we talk?
I'm multitasking.
I'm going to ask you the question. So what does being in the outdoors mean for you?
That's an interesting question. I don't think I've ever really put my thought to it. I just know that I always gravitate towards the outdoors. A holiday isn't a holiday if you're not exploring the outdoors. I wouldn't want to be indoors on holiday.
No.
What does it mean to me? I think is there anything nicer than hearing birdsong? Do you know, than just sitting and hearing the birdsong and not hearing signs of humanity, do you know?
Yeah. And has there ever been a time when being in the outdoors has really helped you?
Yeah, absolutely. Before I became a professional gardener, I worked at a university for 14 years. And COVID was really bad. It was really, really bad. My children were 3 and 5.
Oh.
We were trying to work from home while parenting kids at a really rough age. So you spent all of your time recording the emails and the phone calls and this, that, and the other thing, while trying to get your kids to not lose their minds and trying not to lose your mind yourself, and this whole nonsense of you can only leave the house once a day. It was so difficult. And yet, for some reason, on top of all of that, I thought, well, right, what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll do a new qualification. And I somehow managed to do a new qualification on top of working and parenting through the pandemic. And I just realized that I needed to not be sat at a computer.
Yeah.
I needed to be outside, and I needed to be in the outdoors.
Do you know, it's really interesting when I talk to people that often they'll say COVID was when it's been a real catalyst in a lot of ways. It was a negative time, but then for a lot of people the outcome has been very positive, that they've changed jobs completely and they've retrained and they've gone and done something else. Yeah. It is interesting.
COVID was exceptionally difficult.
Yeah.
But has changed our lives in this household absolutely for the better.
Yeah. And if you're thinking about, where's your favourite outdoor space in or around Edinburgh? You know,
it's really difficult to pick one space, I'd say, because I think it depends on what you're looking for. But I really, really, really love walking around here. So we're in Morton Hall, and we've got I guess it was an estate, and so there's quite a lot of fields around us. We've got just some nice walks. We've got the Stable Bar, which is, you know, the best pub in Edinburgh.
It's great.
And we're so lucky. You know, we bought this house because it had good transport links and because we could afford it and because it had potential. We didn't know how nice the area was. In lockdown, actually, I would occasionally do walks with friends over in the sort of birdie house area, and at the right time of night, you'd come out of the woods and the bats would be everywhere. And that was really cool. I think this area of Edinburgh is really probably a bit underappreciated.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've really enjoyed talking to you, and I've loved seeing your garden. I've loved being with the chickens, who are going to be featuring on the podcast.
Absolutely.
And lovely to poke inside your award-winning house.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you've enjoyed it.
Congratulations on it.
Thank you.
And if people want to know more about you, follow your Instagram.
So my Instagram is now Homegrown Hoose, which is all one word, _ and garden.
Right. I will share it on the show notes of the podcast.
Cool.
And I'll also put a Google Maps to the collective on Carlton Hill if people want to go and have a look at the garden.
Yeah, it's a really wonderful space.
Yeah. And I enjoy your Instagram because you have pictures of here. Obviously, you've put stuff about winning the award, but also some of the other gardens where you work, you put pictures up, so it's really interesting to see.
It's nice, you know. I obviously, you know, I feature my design work on the Instagram, but I'll also take pictures of really beautiful things that I'll see on a walk.
Yeah,
because nature really does it best.
Yeah,
so
it does. Great. Well, thank you very much. And as always, thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please rate it, and don't forget to tell your friends and colleagues about it too. And if you know of an outdoor space in or around Edinburgh that might like to be featured, please get in touch.